Hi everyone, it's Erin from the Provincial Farmhouse. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be giving some thrifted lamps a French country makeover. I picked up these lamps for just $15 each, and while I wasn't loving the color, I felt like they had a great shape. My first step after cleaning is to give each of these lamps one coat of Rust-Oleum's cream spray paint. Now this is going to be a great base for painting, and it's also going to block out that bright red color. You can find a full product list in the description below, and all these products on our website, theprovincialfarmhouse.com.au. Next, I'm going to be using IOD's Frames mold. I'm dusting my mold with cornstarch, and then I'm going to be using Jovi air dry clay to cast this lovely oval frame. This is going to go in the center of our lamp. So to start off with, I'm just casting a bunch of molds that I think are going to work on this lamp, and then I'll be arranging them and gluing them down. I always like to use the cornstarch in my molds. It makes getting your castings out a lot easier. I'm now going to be using the Classic Elements mold, and I'm going to be casting a few pieces from this design. You can see I work the clay into the design, and then I use my thumbs to press out to push the clay down and to get a nice clean edge using that micro rim. I'm next going to cast this lovely little beaded trim. So I'm rolling my clay into a sausage sort of a shape, and then I'm pressing it down into the design, and again using my thumb to push that clay in and to get a nice clean edge. You can see I flex the mold before I try to pull it out. And next I'm going to be doing something a little bit different with one of the pieces from this mold. I'm just going to dust the bottom half of this design here, and I'm going to work my clay only into that section. And this is definitely something that you can do. You don't have to use the molds as they are. You can take bits and pieces of them, either by doing what I'm doing, where you cast just a small part of it, or you can cast the whole thing and then cut out what you want. Once I've cast several of each of those designs, I'm going to start gluing them on. I'm adding a strong wood glue to the back of each of the castings, and then you'll see that I use my finger to spread it around. You can also use a paintbrush for this step. I'm also bending and manipulating my casting to fit on the lamp. You want to make sure you have really good contact so that it's able to be all glued down, and you also want to be very gentle not to accidentally damage the details of your castings. I'm adding the little beaded trim up the top. It just fits. I don't have to take any of that off. And next I'm going to be adding this little detail to the top front part of the lamp, and any little glue drips that I get, I will clean that up later. To hold this piece in place while the glue is drying so that it doesn't slide down, I'm going to be using some masking tape, and I'm not worried if it takes a little bit of the spray paint off because we are going to be painting over the top of it. I'm now adding 3 of my little custom molds that I created by just casting part of the design from the Classic Elements mold. I'm adding that to the center part of the lamp, and again I love using clay because I can bend it and mold it to suit whatever shape I'm adding them to. Again, just be really gentle not to damage your details. Down the bottom, I'm also going to be adding some of that same design, except I've turned it around so they sort of mirror each other, and I'm just adding them around the bottom, and I'm just being really careful again to make sure that I'm pressing it really well so that it has really good contact. And once I have all of the pieces down, I'm also going to be coming in with this little beaded trim from the Classic Elements mold, and I'm going to be wrapping that around and adding a few sets of that so that the entire base is framed out by this little trim. IOD has so many beautiful molds, so if you're going to tackle a lamp makeover, don't feel like you have to use the same ones that I'm using. There is so many to choose from. The last mold that I'm adding is this lovely frame design, so I'm going to bend it and manipulate it to fit on the front, and then I'm also going to be using 2 pieces of masking tape to hold it in place. I gave my glue a few hours to dry. My castings are still wet, but now I'm coming in with some of Dixie Belle's Drop Cloth Chalk Mineral Paint, and I'm going to dab and stipple that over the entire lamp. I find that this helps minimize cracking, and it's also going to help my castings stay in place. So I'm going to cover the entire lamp with that Drop Cloth Chalk Mineral Paint. This won't be my final color, but when I'm not exactly sure where I'm going with a piece or what color I want to paint it, I like to pick a neutral like a white or a cream to put down to get me started. I came in the next day and I am using a mix of Dixie Belle's Sea Spray with Dixie Belle's Chocolate Chalk Mineral Paint, and I am dabbing and stippling that mixture over my entire lamp. This is going to give the lamp some great texture, some great age. I'm going to cover the entire piece. Now this paint I did pick for a reason. I want it to be visible underneath my final coat of paint. I want to be able to distress it back and see that lovely chocolate sitting underneath. Once the Sea Spray mixture was completely dry, I came in and sealed the lamp with Dixie Belle's Gloss Clear Coat. This is going to allow me to wipe back the next layer of paint to do some wet distressing. Once the clear coat was dry, I mixed up some of Fusion's milk paint in the color Almond Latte. I'm putting a cap full of the milk paint into a plastic container, and then I'm measuring out the exact same amount in water. You want to do equal parts here. I'm then going to stir my mixture really well. I'm applying my milk paint with a chip brush today, and you can see that I am brushing it on, but I'm also dabbing and stippling and working it into all of the details of our castings. These castings have been drying for 24 hours, so they are definitely ready to paint over. I don't recommend that you do this before they are completely set. It's important to note that milk paint dries lighter and then the color deepens when you seal it with a wax. The Sea Spray has created a wonderful texture that when my brush is pulling over the top of it, sometimes the bristles are skipping certain sections, and I'm not being careful to go back and fix those up. I really like the effect that that's created, and I'm also going to be doing some wet distressing anyway. One of my favorite things to do when using milk paint is to speed up the drying process. It creates some wonderful cracking texture, which is perfect for the French country look we're going for. Here, hopefully you can see how speeding up the drying process created some wonderful cracked finishes. Now it is a little bit uneven at the moment tonal wise, but when I come in and add some wax later, that will even out. Next, I'm going to use a baby wipe to do some wet distressing. Because we have that gloss clear coat down, I'm able to wipe back just to that chocolate Sea Spray mixture. If you want an alternative for using the wet distress method, you could definitely come in with a 220 grit fine sandpaper and gently distress it back. However, you do have a little bit less control doing it this way. Next, I'm going to be sealing the entire piece using Dixie Belle's Best Dang Wax in Clear. I'm using my Best Dang brush to apply it. It's a lovely big brush and it has a lot of dense bristles, so I'm able to get into a lot of small areas. I'm then going to be using a microfiber cloth to buff that wax off. And you can see that lovely wet distressing that we did is really a lot more obvious once you seal your piece. It's definitely recommended that you use a wax to seal your milk paint, as water can reactivate it. Now I'm going to be doing some layering with some coloured waxes. I'm starting first with Dixie Belle's Best Dang Wax in white, and you can see I'm brushing it on with a chip brush, working it into the details, and then I am wiping back some of the excess with a microfiber cloth. I'm going to layer that down, and then I'm going to come in with brown Best Dang Wax over the top and repeat the same process. And I actually come in one more time over the top with white. When you're creating old world finishes, you really have to think about all of the layers. I'm going to be repeating the same process over the entire lamp, paying particular attention to the castings that we added. I feel that the brown and white wax really bring out those beautiful details, and I'm also rubbing some of the wax over the rest of the lamp as well to help the look blend in. That brown wax is also going to find itself in a lot of the cracks and texture that we created by speeding up the drying process with the milk paint. So again, this just adds to that wonderful vintage feel. Now, if you do not have access to wax, you could try a paint wash, or you could try using a glaze. Now I'm going to focus on the lampshades. They unfortunately were a little bit stained, so I'm going to mist it lightly with water, and then I'm going to be using some of Dixie Belle's drop cloth chalk mineral paint, and I'm going to give the lampshade 2 coats. I'm working that paint in almost like I'm dyeing the canvas fabric. When you're painting lampshades, it's also a good idea to have a globe nearby so you can see what it's going to look like when the lamp is on. So you definitely want to also consider painting the inside of your lamp. If you don't, you will be able to see the brush strokes when the lamp is on. So I'm going to give the inside of my lamp 2 coats of that drop cloth as well. It will mute how much light is able to come out of the lamp, but honestly, I would rather that than to be able to see messy brush strokes. I think it would be near impossible to get a perfect brushstroke finish on a lampshade. Once my lampshade is dry, I'm going to be using IOD's Reverie stamp. There are 2 beautiful ladies, they might be angels, I'm not sure, but they each face a different direction. I thought they would be perfect on these lamps, so I'm going to be putting 1 on each. So I'm inking up my stamp with my IOD permanent black ink. I'm tidying up any areas that I got ink that I shouldn't. You can see I have it on a clear mount. I'm going to position it over the top of my lamp. You can see that I'm just bracing the lamp with 2 little packets. It doesn't matter what you brace it with, just something to hold it in place. I am then hovering and then pressing down, and I've always got one hand holding that stamp down while the other hand moves and applies pressure to make sure that we have good contact with all parts of the stamp. Now, I'm not worried if I don't get a perfect image here. We're going for a vintage look, but I want to get the basic outline, and you can see as I lift up that it transferred beautifully. So I'm going to grab the other stamp with the lady facing the other direction, and I'm going to repeat the same steps. Once my ink has completely dried on both of the lampshades, I'm going to seal them with Rust-Oleum's Clear Matte Sealer. And here are our finished French country lamps. I love how these turned out. Those IOD molds completely transformed the lamp bases, and the IOD stamps gave new life to those plain lampshades. Let me know what you think of this project in the comments. If you liked today's video, I would really appreciate it if you would hit that like button, comment, and share it out to a friend that you think might enjoy it. If you haven't already, I would really appreciate it if you would hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any of our videos. You can find the products used today on our website, theprovincialfarmhouse.com.au. Thanks for watching.